Hello, my name is Colin Flint, and I'd like to tell you about my book Near and Far Waters, The Geopolitics of Seapower. This book is a study of sea power, its contemporary importance, and the need to rethink how we understand the term geopolitics. There is also a personal element of the book. I was born in the mid-1960s in England and started becoming aware of world politics and Britain's geopolitical role in the 1970s. Britain's politics was then, and remains today, in a post-war and post-empire mentality. The national context was one in which a story of Britain's global role and history of sea power was front and centre. I grew up in the port city of Dover and watched the ferries come and go. To cut a long story short, I got wrapped up in the nationalism and militarism of British sea power. Over the course of my career, I became involved in the revival and study of geopolitics in the discipline of geography. This was both exciting and scary. Why scary? Well, scary because the term geopolitics came about in the late 19th century and was used in Germany, Britain, Japan, and the US and other countries as a justification for the preparation for war. This type of geopolitics is known as classic geopolitics, and it is still with us today to justify the militarization of foreign policy. We can see the evidence of classic geopolitics in terms such as sea lines of communication and choke points, which are considered, analysed from the perspective of classic geopolitics. The book's contention is that we need to think about these things in a different way. The book challenges us to rethink geopolitics away from a them and us mentality to a more global, we're all in this together approach that has the potential for geopolitics to be a framework that leads us to peace rather than a third world war. The key concept in the book is to think of the physical geography of the oceans as near and far waters. Maritime countries have near waters, the ones in proximity to their coastlines. Near waters may be controlled by the home country, or may be under control or be threatened by another country. Some maritime countries have the ability to project power into far waters, which are the near waters of other countries. Sea powers are able to project power into the near waters of other countries to enhance their economic and strategic power. The geopolitics of sea power is a process in which some countries first secure near waters and become dominant in trade in that region before using their growing economic strength to gain control of near waters to project power into far waters. This process has been a constant feature of world politics. The book illustrates this through the history of Dutch power in the 1600s, British sea power in the 1800s, and US sea power in the 1900s. The case of the Dutch is illustrative. They started growing their economic strength through the trade of low-value goods in the Baltic, and then used their growing wealth to develop trade in higher value goods in the Indian Ocean, parts of the Pacific Ocean, and South America. The process of the geopolitics of near and far waters is violent. It has involved the oppression of indigenous peoples and ongoing suppression of economic, political, and human rights. It has also led to war between declining, current, and wannabe sea powers. These conflicts have, in the past, led to global wars. For example, here we can see the imperial control of China, an expression of the influence of Russia, Germany, England, France, and the United States in Chinese near waters. And thinking of geopolitics as a process, we can now consider Chinese power through their Belt and Road Initiative as their expansion away from their near waters into far waters. But what's especially important in this book illustrates is that conflict within what China considers to be its near waters. Those areas of the ocean which have been, since World War II, United States far waters. Classic geopolitics continues to try and explain this. For example, the demarcation of the GI-UK gap in the North Atlantic is seen as the way to explain and counter or become involved in NATO-Russia tensions. But these are old and dangerous ways to think of the world. We are in a dangerous time, and my hope is that understanding similar historical contexts of competition over near and far waters can help us think of peaceful rather than military solutions. In this sense, I hope this book helps us to rethink geopolitics away from the past militarism of classic geopolitics to an understanding of geopolitics as a global set of economic and political relations that we must address to avoid another global war.